Matt.
Why, hello, and welcome to issue 618 of Geek in the City Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Duran.
I'm one of your other hosts, Narita.
And I am your other host, Cable Hashitani.
What's up, spooky kids?
It's
spooky indeed.
It's a spooky day.
Spooky day.
Spooky
All
Tuesday.
Days are, that's true. The spookiest of the days.
Goodbye,
I don't know if that's actually true.
Spooky Tuesday.
I don't know that it is either.
I feel like, Monday is, that's Luna, right? Monday's
Lunas,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Wednesday would be spooky. I don't know why.
Wednesday.
Yeah, he's a creep.
But is he spooky?
Not really. Because now all I would picture is Anthony Hopkins, and Anthony Hopkins isn't spooky. Even as Hannibal Lecter, he's more just flamboyant and cannibalistic, but not spooky.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Thursday, nah. Thor's not scary.
No.
Friday
is always spooky.
How come so many of our days are based on the Norse gods?
Because well,
Well, it's 3 of them.
they are in English.
I guess that's true.
Woden's Day, Thor's Day, Frey's Day.
Is Saturday based on Saturnalia?
Saturn.
He was a party guy.
But that's Roman.
Yeah. Sunday is
The sun.
yeah, which I hate.
It's Monday and Tuesday that I forget.
Yeah. Let's go for Monday as the spookiest day. And Tuesday is the day after the spookiest day.
Second spookiest day of the week.
Recovery spooky day.
I think you're right though. Monday makes the most sense because Luna.
Yeah. Yeah, that works. There you go. Well, hey, we've solved that. Very well.
Anyway.
Alrighty.
But I think that the spookiest day I've had most recently was actually Sunday.
All back. Nicely done.
Why would you say that, Bean?
Because I went to some haunted houses. And you were there. And you.
We were all there. Yeah, we all went to see, along with my lovely spouse, Jen, we went to Milburn Manor out in Hubbard, Oregon.
Milburn's Haunted Manor.
It was Haunted Manor.
I mean, is it really a manor if it isn't haunted?
No, it's not. Unless it's haunted and or murders have occurred, it doesn't count as a real manor.
That's what I'm
saying. Or
saying.
unless the Batcave is under it, because Stately Wayne Manor.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 3 manors that can happen.
You think
haunted?
You think the fucking Wayne mansion isn't haunted?
Oh, it's haunted as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
With a lot of ghosts and Bruce Wayne's guilt, which is the biggest haunt of them all.
That's where I was going with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we'll touch on more about that one a little bit later.
Oh man, that's too Cable actually doing some professional radio shit right there. Like linking that up. That's called a guarantees, friends.
Anyway, back to Milburn's Haunted Manor. So yeah, if you drive 40 to 60 minutes out of the city into beautiful farm country. So basically it is like a private property. Presumably it's at least partially a farm.
Mm-hmm.
And
it is a farm.
It is a farm.
But they've given over a goodly chunk of that property to have a spooky attraction.
To horror and terror.
Yes, there are 2 haunts that you can visit there. The first one, in order of what we saw them in. Anyway, I don't know that there's a preferred order to participate. But first, we experienced the dark, which was a mostly pitch black maze that you have to traverse with little to no light, but definitely a lot of screaming.
So one might say there's truth in advertising. So it's called the dark. It's dark.
Yeah,
that's true. Pretty self-explanatory. Yeah.
I will say the dark made very good use of the laser and fog effects, which I've only seen within the last few years getting used. I
It's
know Cable, you know haunts more than Denise and I, so
yeah, I guess I have. I guess I've
Mhm.
been to. I have.
well, and you've been more steeped in the industry as a rule, also.
This is true. I think where the two of you are more skilled and experienced with the escape rooms, have delved into the haunts. Yeah, using lasers and fog is not new, but using it at different levels, like physically placing it at a different height, and then using that in concurrence with the fog machine has definitely given haunts different feels. Like you can,
like you can literally use lasers and fog to make it feel like you're wading like chest deep through, like you don't feel the pressure of like walking through a marsh, but mentally your brain doesn't see below like that laser fog level. So your brain's like, oh, we're wading through stuff. And you're not. But psychologically, you're like, oh no, there's something under this.
It both creates some visibility while also like cutting off visibility.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about the physics of that, but that is what they're designed to do, is create a visible barrier. Even though it is not an actual physical barrier, it's just a visual one. So you can be standing in a giant room and feel like you're walking down a narrow corridor just by how laser lights and fog where they're placed.
Yeah.
There was a haunt in LA at Not Scary Farm that was an undersea haunt, and one room used a laser across the middle of the room, so it hit everybody about waist high, and then there was fog, so you knew there were things walking around under there, but you didn't know what.
Which is where, well, the at the dark they did that. There were a couple times. I think it was not to give things away, but there's things at the end of the dark where they used that technology, and I will never forget hearing Denise behind me saying, "Nope, no, no, no."
Yeah, very, very simple but effective way of creating a very disorienting vibe that I appreciate, but I'm not personally a fan of.
So this was both of your first visits to Milburn, and I've been to Milburn once back in 2019.
Right.
And Milburn's Haunted Manor is one of the few haunts that, like, Dave, the Baron from Fright Town, actually like enjoyed and respected.
Right.
Like it was largely Milburn's and 13th Door were the other haunts that, like, he was friendly with all the haunts, but those were the two that he's like, no, they're doing good work.
Yeah, I will say, like, I used to be financially connected to 13th Door, and what they lacked in maybe Dave's storytelling approach, they made up for in room design and use of technology and actors. Yeah, for sure. Norm also points out that both Alien and Aliens use the laser and fog effect to great effectiveness within the movies. They did both do that. Yeah, totally. So if it's good enough for Ridley Scott and James Cameron, it's going to work for a haunt.
And then, of course, oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, and then there was the second haunt, which was again the Manor, and I'll let you talk about it more, Cable, because you're going to be better at it.
The Manor is, so the design of the interior design is pretty much the same from year to year. There's a few touches here and there, but when we went through it, it was pretty much the same as I remember it from 2019. Where it gets different each time is depending on which actors you have in there. doing the haunting. And I don't know if we've talked about this yet, but one of the things that Milburn's the business model for Milburn's is that they have a big concessions, they have haunts, and it costs money. They make a good amount of money, but the proceeds from that, like a large chunk of the profit, go to area schools, to their drama departments, because all of the haunters are volunteer high school students from said drama departments. So if you want to make money for your local high school, send some folks out, have them scare the crap out of people on weekends, and at the end of October, you get a big chunk of change to pay for costumes or pay for your next production.
Because school districts are never going to actually pay for theater programs. They have to scare you to get money out of you. Which is exactly what I did when I was in theater. That's how our theater made money. That and selling ads for programs. Yeah.
This is one of those things that I keep forgetting, largely because I'm old and this was a long time ago. And when I say a long time ago, I'm talking like an adult person's lifetime ago.
That's true.
Like over 30 years at this point. But I think my first haunt was a high school drama department haunt. And it was after I had already graduated, but like some friends were running a haunt and I volunteered to help them so they could make money. Because I went through and was kind of a snarky asshole going through the haunt, which is pretty much how I lived my life at that point. But then I'm like, hey, if you guys want help, I'll be happy to help. And I think they threw me in a harness and I was screaming at people the following night. So I keep forgetting I did things that kind of planted the seed for things that would come along 20 years later.
You were planting the seed for Creepy Cable.
I think that got planted
way before.
Oh yeah, I mean, I probably didn't do a haunt. I probably actually worked a haunt before I ever attended a haunt. And again, like you, it was junior high and high school, helping out local neighborhood haunts or community haunts or what have you. The coolest one I ever did was, I think, my junior year of high school. We were actually given access to the old jail in Susanville. Like someone just like, well, they could use that building.
That sounds like a horrible idea.
And it was literally like, legally there had to be one adult. So like one of the English department teachers just hung out while like 16 to 18-year-olds designed this entire haunt. We made bank that year for the theater department.
Nice.
So where like people were really bummed out that we weren't given access to it the next year to do it. And not that we damaged it, it's just that Susanville has no vision. And eventually a couple of the religious groups were really upset that we had made so much money doing devil's things.
Fuck's sake.
Ontario was not dissimilar in its
I'm sure
dislike of. Yeah.
But
meanwhile, this is the first I've ever heard of like this being a whole thing where high schools connect or have a large hand in the creation of or operations of a haunted house.
I think if you go to a lot of small towns in America, you will find that most of the haunted houses are put on by like the high school in conjunction with like the local Elks Lodge or the Lions Club. The Lions Club and the Shriners support a lot of haunted houses because they're, the Lions Club is for vision and the Shriners are for kids. And yeah, so a lot of these like fraternal orders of like funky dress old dudes that like to hang out and drink beer like on Friday nights, they put a lot of backing into helping like teenagers put on haunts, because then they pretty much like they throw some of their money behind it. So it'll be whatever. It'll be like, the Elko theater department in Nevada, like the town's got 1,000 people and the theater department has like 8 really dedicated kids that put on Shakespeare couple times a year in the high school, they want to put on a haunt and they get their buddies to do it. And like, the Shriners show up or the Lions Club show up and they put their booths up to, donate to the Lions Club and they help these kids put on haunts.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's just like I've never really heard of that. And like it may or may not be a thing in Phoenix. I just was never aware of it.
You'd probably see it more in smaller towns in Arizona. It's very much a smaller town thing.
I don't know that that's necessarily true in the Southwest.
You don't think so?
No,
Okay.
but I do know it's huge in the Midwest.
The Midwest and where
High
I grew up,
schools
which
being
was
the key
But
organizers.
yeah, the more religious an area or the more traditional an area, the more you will have haunted houses, homespun haunted houses.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, the biggest
Interesting.
haunted house in the country is in what, Kansas? The Beast?
Yeah,
Is
I
it in
think so.
Kansas or is it in Missouri? It's in Kansas, but it's by Missouri, right? Isn't that it? I think.
I can find out.
Yeah.
But then, like,
The-
how is that the case if a more religious area is more likely to have, a community rabble rousers going, that's the devil's work, and you shouldn't be doing it, and boycott it.
it's
blah, blah,
it's
blah.
funny.
'Cause that's
It's-
free advertising.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like every small town I've ever experienced that has a really strong religious community, unless like it's actually rare. Like when I said about like we were not allowed to use the jail the next year, we still put a haunt on the next year. We just picked a different spot.
Mhm.
And Cable could probably talk to this too. It's an interesting thing that the more like religious and conservative the town, weirdly enough, a lot of these groups see kids putting on a haunt as, well, it's better that they do this and they go out and drink and have sex and do drugs during October,
Mhm.
which we still do. Don't get me wrong. But for the most part, through October, especially drama kids, like we're dedicated to scaring you. Like we see that haunt as our stage and they take it really seriously. So for as much as like certain religious groups might be bothered by it, community leaders as a rule are like, look, we know there's fuck all to do in this town. And all through October, a big chunk of our kids are either putting on this thing that actually takes a lot of work and discipline, or they're attending this thing that their fellow students have put on. So, maybe leave the fire and brimstone away for like 1 month out of the year. And it's really an interesting dichotomy when that happens. And it happens a lot in small religious towns, like a lot.
I know that for a fact that if I had a reasonable budget and time and got stuck in my hometown, I could rent the fairgrounds, put up 3 haunts, have it booked every single weekend, and make money for every single school drama program.
Oh man, if I'm with you, Cable, if for some reason I had to spend a year in Susanville for whatever reason,
Mhm.
like come like April, I'd be like, all right, I'm looking for a spot. I'm going to put a haunt on. I don't care what it costs me. I need to do something. I'm going to scare the crap out of people in this town, and I'm going to contact high school drama departments, local theater producers. Every small town has like the one mobile DJ who so wants to do something besides weddings. And if you tell them like you want to do sound design for a haunt, they're going to jump all over it. Oh yeah, I would, in a heartbeat, I would do a haunt.
See, and I already know the location because the Malheur County Fairgrounds is in Ontario, and it's the perfect. It's like it's already got parking, it's already got the buildings, it's already got infrastructure. It just
Me too.
Oh,
There's an old public pool that got shut down like 25 years ago, but it used to be a sanatorium. It has parking.
Mhm.
It had like weird little hot springs. It has weird little healers rooms. I'm like, oh no, that's the haunt right there. Oh, and it has an empty pool that you would have to walk down into.
that
Okie dokie.
place might legitimately be haunted. So
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is.
Norm is mentioning like, well, what's really sucky is that like then instead to continue to fight the haunted houses, those religious groups will start up their trunk or treats. Although I would argue that like a trunk or treat is really only appealing to children who are way too young to be going to haunted houses anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have a
Oh.
problem with trunk or treat when it's like, yeah, if the kids are really young, or even last year during the pandemic and people didn't feel safe going to houses. Yes, Caitlin.
Trunk or treat?
Trunk
You've
or
never
treat,
heard of a trunk or treat?
it's
No.
when a lot of people you know and trust all kind of come to one like parking lot and open their trunks, and there's candy there, and the kids go around it.
Yeah. Instead of letting your children go door to door for candy, they just go from car trunk to car trunk in a church
Yeah.
parking lot.
Yeah, essentially
school.
the houses come to them.
I have never heard of this ever.
It's
I've
super
never
suburban or like
Yeah.
small town. Well, I don't know, maybe like not small town. I don't
I
know
don't-
what happens in small towns, but
It-
it's a
it
very
sounds-
suburban thing.
It
It's
sounds
within-
more
it-
suburban and not small town. Small town.
It's also cable within the last 20 years where it really came to
okay.
rose up.
So
but
not
I
when
also
was a
love
child.
like, and this only
No.
happens like in towns with malls. I also love when malls open up for trick or treating. Like
Mhm.
every store. When I worked at Lloyd Center, every Halloween,
Yep.
we would buy a fuck ton of candy, and we had like movie stickers because it was usually the Friday before Halloween, and it was always kids that can't be out late. Like no one was like over 6 years old, and they just wander Lloyd Center. Like every store gives them candy, and you take pictures of like princesses and Power Rangers, and it's the sweetest, charming thing. And you give them candy, and you give them a movie sticker, and they take pictures with cardboard cutouts of like Disney characters. It was so charming, and I loved it.
Yeah, it's just like nice baby stuff for babies.
Yeah, I love as much as I love to scare the crap out of people and just be gory and over the top. I also just my heart just melts when like 5-year-olds dress up and go trick or treating, and I'm like, oh, you're so good, like
Although I will argue that like the reason people started things like trunk or treat is because, like they think the neighborhood weirdos are gonna put weed or razors in the candy.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing that, Karen.
Nobody is spending money on their drugs to fucking get your little shit apple high. Drugs are expensive.
Mhm.
I'm not dropping $100 on some sweet like edibles to give it to your little fucking crotch nugget.
Yes, to Scott in the chat. Trunk or treat is a lot like tailgating for kids. But a lot less fun. Unless you're 6, it's perfect if you're 6.
Yeah, if you're the
Or
right
under.
age, it's the best day ever because within an hour your bag is full of fucking candy. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah.
Weird.
Anyway,
There we go.
I think I got that simply by we would do our rounds at all the houses and then eventually stop at my grandmother's house, and she would just already have a bag of candy that she would just give the kids. So
We would trick or treat in my neighborhood where I grew up. There was probably only like 10 houses in my neighborhood that really gave shit out. The rest just had killer dogs and dudes that got drunk and would point their shotguns at you. Although there was one house who was legend. This house, I shit you not, y'all. When you showed up, so remember when they used to sell 5-packs of large candy bars?
Mhm.
That's what they gave out. You got to pick. Also, by the way, they had Snickers, Butterfinger, all the main ones. Then they had a giant fucking Coleman
cooler.
cooler. We got to open it up and pick your whatever you wanted of a 6-pack of like mini 8-ounce sodas, like Coke, Dr. Pepper, Sprite, fucking Sunkist. So you left with a 5-pack of full-size candy bars and a 6-pack of your favorite soda. They were gods. There was that and the weird house of the German couple that never took down their Christmas decorations. And I don't mean like German ancestry, like they barely spoke English. They were
Mhm.
German.
Mhm.
They would
Gotcha.
increase their Christmas decorations in December and then scale back for all year long. Like you would show up at trick or treating and they had Christmas lights on when you knock on the door and trick or treat, they'd be like, "Oh, this is a beautiful kindas." You'd look inside their house, Christmas decorations everywhere. There was a Christmas tree up with lights. There was Christmas music playing, but you got good candy from them. They just fucking loved Christmas.
In their defense, every year after October ends, fewer decorations go back in the bins.
Yeah, I just turn a lot of my
Same
Halloween
thing.
decorations. I just put Christmas hats on them. Like Frankenstein just gets a Christmas hat.
Was this couple secretly Santa and Mrs. Claus?
Like, I actually wondered that one time because I was like 8 the first time I met them. And like they did have like rosy cheeks. He had a white beard. Like part of me was like, does Santa and Mrs. Claus live in Lake Forest? This place is magical.
I want to know more about this couple that lived.
They were kind of a trip. Like one time, one of the years I went trick-or-treating, I said, like, I remember saying, like, do you wait for Santa? And like the woman who's handing out candy, she's like, no, he's Kindergross. Like kept like, is that what they call him in Germany? It was
I don't know.
they used a very German word for it of like, no, we don't call him Santa. Like we celebrate the real like jolly gnome European character.
Interesting.
They were very sweet. Like they never like, I know some people might think like, oh, they're creepy. Like they like kids coming over. Like they never did that. Like you'd see them shopping in town and they wore very like Bavarian clothing. They just fucking loved
Did you
Christmas.
ever learn from where in Germany they were? Like maybe I don't know.
They were from the Black Forest region. I remember when I was like 13, I chatted them a bit more.
The what they would have called him is Weihnachtsmann.
the
Okay,
night man.
Yeah.
They had, but their
Aaron,
decorations were very traditional. It was red suit, beard, like that was their decorations. It wasn't
Sure.
Okay.
Because they had
Don't ruin this for me, Cable.
No, I'm not trying to ruin this. I think I need you to do some investigation. I
You
think
think they might have been them?
I think there is an unearthed Christmas story that you from your hometown backyard that you and you alone should tell.
That Mr. and Mrs. Claus lived in my neighborhood during the off season.
Yes.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna think on that. You guys talk.
Bex for the win. Oh yeah, bring me back a drink. Had an elderly neighbor from Germany who always gave out rum bottle candies. And I'm not really sure what a rum bottle candy is. But I am sort of imagining those like really fancy little bottles of Frangelico. It's not candy. I mean, it is candy, but it's not candy. Oh, but that was considered the worst thing that they would get on Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have different tastes when you're kids.
I'm curious, Bex. Did the parents know that this elderly neighbor did that, or was it sort of this like secret amongst the children?
Have you met children? They don't keep secrets. They're horrible. They don't keep the things secret that they're supposed to.
That's true. That's very, very true.
The good things that they should keep secret so that no one stumbles across it, they tell all of their friends. The horrible things that happen that they should be telling people about, those they keep secret.
Yeah, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely happens.
Damn it, Cable, I'm going to write that now.
Yep, you're welcome.
Well, because anyone who knows me knows that I love Halloween, but then like Christmas is actually right up there with it.
I know this.
And I've always kind of wanted to write like a weird Christmas story.
Yep.
It's still going to have ghosts in it because Christmas, spoilers for those who don't know this, Christmas is the second most ghost infested holiday of the year. Christmas is riddled with ghosts and monsters because it's in the winter when they all come out.
The death time.
Yeah.
Right up there with Arbor Day.
Yeah. The most terrifying of days. So we move
Well,
on
I
to
feel like
trailer?
we've sort of digressed a little bit. Did we have anything more that we wanted to share about our time at
Milburn Manor was great,
Milburn
and
Haunted
Cable
Manor?
had fucking funnel dipped fried bacon, which just
Oh
looked-
man,
Jesus, man!
I
Like
wish
my
I'd
hot
saved
dog,
room for that.
my hot dog was good, but damn.
Like I said, I had dinner before we came, so I had already planned on having nothing but dessert while I was
Yeah.
out there.
So if you go out
See,
there,
I
just know
chose
that.
poorly.
No, you didn't. The hot dog was good.
Yeah.
Just know if you go out
Chili
there,
cheese hot dog, kind of any old time. How
Yeah.
often do I come across funnel cake battered bacon?
that's the other fun thing about kind of rural haunts is it means it's going to come with good rural fair food.
Yeah,
Fried everything.
I did put a link to Milburn's in the Facebook chat. So if you're a Portland local and you are looking for something to go do that's thematic, seasonally thematic,
Yeah.
it's best if you're vaccinated in general.
Yeah,
but
you fucking should be by now. Just
right, but they do have they do. Milburn's requires masks. They still require as much social distancing as possible. They time out who can go into the haunt so that you're not bunched up on, you're just bundled up in your groups.
Mhm.
And it does have a nice small town feel to it, which is great for little haunts like that.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. The other thing that I can say is I met the Milburn who runs it back in 2019, and he doesn't have a timeline, but when he's done, he's just done. And he has no idea when that's going to be. But so like he's never said this is going to be the last year or anything, but when he decides to do that, he's just going to do it. So
go check it out.
Go check it out. You're outside most of the time, so that also helps if you're concerned about COVID transmission.
You're outside, but covered.
Covered, yep.
In case it
Yeah.
rains, because
So
it's
you don't-
Oregon,
you
and
don't have to
it's
worry about
Oregon in
getting wet.
October. The odds of rain are high. You are covered, but you're outside.
The other thing that I really, really appreciated, I don't think any of us touched on yet, is the fact that all of the haunters really try to give you your space. There's, and I mean, like, I personally am not a big fan of like the neck breathing, from come up behind you and breathe on you kind of a thing. Obviously, that's out the door nowadays, but they keep a distance. They are effectively doing their job without coming into, like getting into your personal space.
They're also, all of them are all masked.
Also that.
Which like they either incorporate their makeup into the mask or the mask is designed to be part of their costume. So that was well done as well.
Nice.
Well done as well. That was a poor sentence.
Well, I think, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So to say, I think before we move on, we're going to do trailers next.
I think so.
Okay.
Well, before we move on, you know who really likes trailers? Our friends at PDX Asylum.
This is true.
They do. They are both Anton and Deb are cinephiles. They do love it, so they'll love trailers. And you will love PDX Asylum. They are. Yeah, I was going to roll in and do it. 3713 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard, across from the Baghdad Theater. Don't think of them anymore as just vintage furniture. They are now your modern, minimalist, and just fantastic home decor store. I am looking at. They just posted this a few days ago. There's a new vase. It's a modern vase, and it is kind of cool all by itself.
I like how it suggests the shape of an elephant.
Yes,
I was thinking that
exactly
too, and
the
I'm
same
like,
thing.
I don't know if I need flowers in it. I could just put weird shit in it. It would make it work.
But not actual shit.
No, don't
But
do that.
you see how in one of the pictures, instead of flowers, it has those like colorful little like bobblies on sticks.
Well, they're like felt flowers.
Yeah. You can buy those at Asylum also. I've bought them
Yeah.
before. I've actually bought unique, like modern vintage inspired vases and felt flowers to fill them in as gifts in the past.
And I was just there a few days ago, and we're coming up on another winter where the odds of us being inside a lot is pretty high. They still have their puzzles, ways to pass the time.
Mm-hmm.
I know Denise last year finished one of those gradient puzzles.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure felt very calming assembling it and stuff.
Very satisfying.
Yeah. Last year I bought Jen like this rollout crafty kit. So it's like games and coloring in a small box, but you roll it out and you can just pretty much draw as you go. Comes with all the pencils you need and all the crayons you need. And especially good if you're like in a Zoom call and you're listening, but you're not on video, but you're like, oh my God, I need fucking something to do. You just kind of roll this little thing out. You're like, oh, I'm going to draw this one. I'm going to color in this little picture here. Yes. No, I get it. Yeah. No, it's great. PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, no, it's good. Well, mm-hmm. Then you just kind of keep rolling and adding to it. So, yeah, they have everything to kind of take care of your home decorating needs. They have a great modern minimalism design. There's a lot of talk right now about the slowdown in the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have to worry about that with Asylum because they work really hard with only purchasing products from local and American artisans and designers, places that aren't found on Amazon. That's one of the things they're really proud of. And if you're not found on Amazon, the odds of you being impacted by the supply chain are very small. So
This
that's
is
pretty
true.
cool. Yeah.
That gets back to that whole meme I've been seeing go around concerning supply chain, which is local artists aren't impacted. Like local artists' works are available right now.
Right now, they are not impacted by the supply chain.
Nope. And that's why PDX Asylum works to stock their shelves with stuff.
That's right. So yeah, check them out. 3713 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard across from the Baghdad Theater. They are open regular. Their hours are Friday through Sunday. I believe it's 12 to 4. But if you contact them through their Facebook page, you can organize a private shopping session if you feel more safe doing that. But just work with them through messages with Anton and Deb, and they'll make sure to find a time for you to get into the shop for sure.
And you can check them out online at facebook.com/PDXasylum.
Yeah, check them. All right.
Before we jump into trailers, to answer your question you asked a bit ago, The Beast is in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. All right.
So,
and it's huge.
It is
Huge.
No, I'll save that for later. I'll be right back. Carry on.
Right. Well, Denise and I can jump into trailers then.
Very well. Which trailer would we like to start with?
Oh man, like well, the one everyone's going to ask us about, I feel like, is the Batman.
Okay.
So we jump into that. So at DC's Fandom event this week, one of the big trailers they've released is the full-length trailer for the Batman with Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne / Batman. This is a much more like grounded, which I get annoyed when I say that because like everyone's like, oh, the Nolan Batman was so grounded too. And I don't necessarily need Batman to be like grounded in reality. I just need it to stick to its own rules. And this feels like a fun little hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
The Batman also feels like the first Batman movie ever where the character actually does some investigating. Which is kind of nice as a detective.
From a comic?
He is known as the world's greatest detective, and no Batman movie has actually shown him, detecting.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, none. The closest we ever got was the Dark Knight, and that was like a 5-minute scene. I'm like, this still wasn't detecting. That was you using like some wanky ass technology. I think visually,
detectivizing.
yeah, I think visually it's very appealing. We're talking about the Batman trailer, Cable.
Batman.
I like its visual look. I like by even the director's own admission, they're pulling a lot visually from oh my
A
god,
Long Halloween.
Not only that, no, the artist Franco oh my god,
Francisco Francavilla.
Francisco Francavilla. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like the Batmobile is straight up Francisco's design.
I think that might be my favorite Batmobile.
Cinematically, yeah. Even
Almost
in the comic,
ever.
Yeah. Well, because it's very much based on the Batmobile design of the mid to late 70s. Where it was literally just a fucking muscle car that had like exposed engine parts because it had to be faster.
What's the artist's name?
Francisco Francavilla.
Yeah. Just trying to.
He did all the covers for Afterlife with Archie. He's a great artist.
Oh, he did all of the art for
He did all the art too, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. He was.
Oh yeah. I can see that right away.
Yeah.
I think that was what got everyone to go, I'm sorry, who is this? Was that book. And then yeah, he was doing covers for everything. He did the Black Beetle for Dark Horse.
I'm seeing covers for Skeleton Key, Black Hammer.
He does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of and like every October he redoes like monster movie posters just for fun. He just does them.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a cool artist. I like Zoe Kravitz's look as Selena Kyle / Catwoman. Yeah, something about this one it just appeals to me in ways that, as much as I enjoy some of the Nolan stuff, it still felt too polished, and this feels grittier. And I don't mean that in the grim, dark way. This is like Batman Year 2. He's already been established. Gordon,
it's not an origin. Yeah, it's not
an origin
story.
Gordon kind of trusts him.
But he's also still a lieutenant.
Yeah, and the cops clearly don't fucking like him at all because he's making them look bad. And also he doesn't really like cops.
You know, that's kind of the direction you have to go these days. The more that we collectively start to understand about the origins of the police, their current function, what they choose to protect and serve, and the bullshit that is the police union.
Right.
Yeah, that like all of that. It says that if you're going to be a justice-based vigilante, you can't like cops because they're the antithesis of what you were trying to do.
Yeah,
that you wouldn't be needed if the cops were doing what they claim to be working towards.
Right.
And that's not what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess.
Solve crimes?
Create a climate where crime is a last resort rather than the first thing that you have to go to in order to survive.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it looks impressive, and I really like Robert Pattinson as an actor. Many years ago, I just wrote him off as like this pretty boy from Twilight, and then I saw some of his other work, and I was like, that was really unfair of me. Yes, he was a pretty boy in Twilight, but that was his thing that got him going to do everything else he wanted to do. Like, because the money he made from Twilight, that dude does whatever he wants now and doesn't care. Like, you know, Daniel Radcliffe, he got that Harry Potter money, does whatever the fuck he wants to do. Elijah Wood, Lord of the Rings money, they do whatever they want to do, no matter how weird it is.
Yep.
You know,
like the lighthouse.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I also like that, like, Warner Brothers assumed Robert Pattinson would work out and get like swole. When he told them when they cast him, he's like, I ain't working out. I'm not going to do it. He's like, I'll be healthy, but I'm not Like, I'm not going to a trainer. You can't Marvel movie me. I refuse to do it. When
Mhm.
they showed up on set, they were like, he looks really scrawny. And he's like, yeah, make the suit make me look good. It's a suit with armor. Why
Mhm.
do I have to look bulky? I'm not Thor. I'm not Superman. I'm Batman. He wears fucking armor. Like,
Mhm.
and boy, do they use that effectively in the trailer. That's the other thing I kind of like. It's kind of weird. I like it when Batman takes like dozens of shots to the chest and doesn't flinch because it's all about fear. And if you can't drop him with an AK-47, you're fucked.
Or
And,
two.
or two, which is why I was like, no, great. Also, that's why you aim for the head, you know. But I like he's like, no, I have a big ass bat here, so you aim where all my armor's at, you know. Yeah, I'm good.
The incorporation of the Joe Chill's gun as the bat in his suit.
Yeah.
Like I think that was the first tease of this costume that I went, okay, I'm in. It's like, you don't know what the movie's about. Don't care. That is an element where you're paying attention to things.
Do you know where they got that from?
Where?
Kevin Smith.
Good.
So I think it was for Batman's 80th anniversary when they did that 100-page special.
Mm-hmm.
He pitched them a story, and Jim Lee did it where, Bruce Wayne bids on, he goes to this underground auction where, like, murder memorabilia, and he buys Joe Chill's gun. And Alfred's like, Master Bruce, this is fucked up. Like, I get that you're obsessed and guilt-ridden, but this is wrong for you to just own this gun. And basically what Kevin Smith wrote, he's like, you don't understand. He's like, I'm making it from something that ruined my life to something that will save my life. And in the comic, that little short, he melts it down and makes it the primary armor plate on the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a Kevin Smith story. Straight up. Yeah.
I did also forget until the trailer that Andy Serkis was Alfred.
Me too.
I forget what he looks like in real life. So I was like, who is that? What's happening here?
He looks like Ulysses Claw.
No, I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be great.
I'm
going to be
Colin Farrell just disappearing into the Penguin.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to vie for Robin Lloyd Taylor to be either the second or third place best Penguin, because Danny DeVito still sits on atop that throne. Like,
yeah, okay. I like my Penguin as a mob boss, not a circus freak.
It's not just him as a circus freak. Until Robin Lloyd Taylor, I hadn't seen anyone take that character and make it something that, like, I have never been scared of the Penguin. The Penguin has never been a serious character to me. He's been ridiculous. Like, when I was introduced to him, he was this
Burgess Meredith,
or this
who we love,
or this ridiculous looking character with umbrellas in the comics. It's like, wait, I don't understand, why is he a supervillain? Danny DeVito, I'm like, oh yeah, that is terrifying. Good job.
Danny DeVito actually forbid his kids from coming on set. They visited him one day and they saw him and ran screaming to Rio Perlman. They're like, we thought we were going to see Dad.
Yeah, I still think that's one of his best performances ever. And he's put in like hundreds of other performances that are fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Colin Farrell is definitely going to give us something we haven't seen.
If you ever want to see a Batman story with the Penguin, it's the first time I ever took Penguin seriously. It was in the mid-90s with Alan Grant and Norm Breyfogle. And it was a 4-part arc called The Death of the Penguin, where he was able to frame Batman for his murder.
Clever.
Good little 4-part series in Detective Comics. So if you can find it, like, seek it out. Good little arc. Yeah.
I'm going to be that weird nerd about this that I'm glad that people are excited that Zoe Kravitz is playing Catwoman. But I must point out, Kravitz this is not her first time playing Catwoman.
It isn't.
Was she a voice in one of them?
Zoe Kravitz was Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie.
Oh shit, that's right.
I did
Yeah.
fully forget that.
I will still happily give anybody a dissertation of why the Lego Batman movie is also one of the most important pieces of Batman mythos and Batman media that's out there.
The best thing about it is the Lego Batman movie is the movie that finally flat out says Joker and Batman love each other. That is why they will be arch enemies forever.
It
Because
does
they cannot reconcile how they are actually, they're like the yin and yang. They cannot exist without each other.
The whole thesis of the Lego Batman movie is that Batman is the villain. And everyone else is his victim. It's the only time I've ever convincingly seen and understood the Joker as a sympathetic character. It is one of the healthiest portrayals of Harley Quinn, because her entire role in that movie is like, oh, she's just being a supportive girlfriend. And then you watch it and go, no, she's not. Every line of dialogue that she has with the Joker is her performing therapy.
Yeah.
She is Dr. Harley Quinn that entire movie, and you just kind of gloss over it.
The other Harley Quinn thing that I love that like everyone glosses over is the one episode of, I think it was The Adventures of Batman and Robin, but it was a Harley Quinn focused one, where she gets released from Arkham.
Harley's Day
To go straight, and like Batman follows her everywhere. Doesn't get in the way, just follows her, and people assume she's robbing them, so they treat her like shit. They call the cops on her, and at the end, like Batman finally shows up and like helps her. And she's like, why would you do this? And he's like, because everyone deserves a second chance. And she's like, well, what do you mean? She's like, you're right, Bats. Like, I just had a really bad day, and it kind of ruined my life. And like Batman looks at her and is like, I know what it's like to have a bad day and have it ruin your life. And she's like, but you're a good guy. You shouldn't have any bad days. And he's like, no one should have bad days. And they have this like moment where like she tears up and he kind of looks solemn, you know. And then like, you know, and then it gets funny again where like she kisses him on the cheek, and then she grabs him and kisses him. Like, she's like, Bats, you and I are going to be great together. He's like, oh. And then he's like, don't push it, Harley, you know. But he has that moment of like, he looks at her and he says, she's like, why would you do this for me? He's like, because I had a bad day once. And that's when you realize like, oh yeah, no, he's straight up telling Dr. Harlan Quinzel in that moment, yeah, I had a bad day and it irreparably changed my life. I am now dressed like this because I had a bad day.
Yep.
A great moment. Yeah.
If anyone's been sitting on watching the Lego Batman movie, watch it.
It is fun.
Watch it.
I clearly need to watch it again.
So should we move from the more serious to the fucking ridiculous with Peacemaker?
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Take over. I'll be right back.
Oh my God. Did you watch the trailer on this one?
I did, but I wouldn't be able to like recap it.
I don't know that I can either, other than it's insane. Like,
yeah.
If you haven't watched The Suicide Squad yet, you might want to skip ahead, because everyone presumed it was a prequel to The Suicide Squad because, you know, it's The Suicide Squad. Everybody dies.
Full spoilers coming up if you haven't seen The Suicide Squad.
Peacemaker does not get killed in The Suicide Squad. It is intimated that he does, and then you find out that later on that Hisham, I will get to that. Peacemaker is alive at the end of the movie, and this is kind of him going, like, getting pulled back in by the Suicide Squad's kind of organization and put back out in the field to, I don't know what, do things that no one else is going to do. It gets more into psychologically why
He is the way he is.
Yeah, and it's hard to explain. We get to meet the Peacemaker's father, apparently, played by Robert Patrick of Terminator 2 and X-Files. Which it is weird to think that of Robert Patrick being old enough to play John Cena's father, but yeah, I guess that's about right, because it's, oh God, okay, I'm having an old man moment again. Anyway, yeah, Norm hits it on the head. There's a scene with a bald eagle hugging John Cena, and that's as ridiculous as, like,
Dad,
I don't know.
Dad, take a picture.
Dad,
I don't want to move. I can't get my camera.
Also, flashback to our drive home from the haunt. I didn't realize that his dad was being played by Robert Patrick, aka Agent Daggett.
Yeah,
I
that's
knew
what
he
we were
looked
just talking
familiar,
about.
but
Yep.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Cable just blew my mind here.
So there's an addition of another like, a lot of the characters are people from the command team on the Suicide Squad, plus a new agent who's out in the field who doesn't have any superpowers or a costume. She's just armed with a gun.
I think she might be meta in that. I think she's really strong.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
But the other costumed hero in this is Vigilante, which
That's a stupid character.
It is. And the last time I saw Vigilante was on Arrow, where they did, an Arrow version of Vigilante.
Oh, right.
However, this version of Vigilante is yet another comics accurate costume.
He's 100% on point.
Except his characterization, as Hisham pointed out, is very Deadpool.
Mm-hmm. I actually thought that when I first heard the voice, I thought it was Jason Lee.
Mm-hmm.
But you see a picture, but it's not, because they would have mentioned it. But yeah.
And then the other person that you see in costume who's in green, that's Judo Master.
Right.
Who is another Carlton character.
So really quick.
Go ahead.
Did you guys mention what Ida just said in the chat?
No.
Someone pointed out to her that John Cena as Peacemaker, it looks like swole Ernest P. Warhol, and you cannot unsee that.
Nope.
Damn it. Know what I mean, Vern?
We get yet
I always
another.
thought there was something a little bit weird about him. Looking at him, and there it is.
Mm-hmm.
and we
I
get
also
yet
love that
another John Cena in his underwear
I was
dancing
gonna say,
scene.
I'm so glad he's comfortable just having fight scenes in his underwear.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had a body like that, I would be in my underwear.
That's true. If I was
all
ripped
the
like that,
time.
I would be in tidy whities all day long.
You'd have to pay me to stop.
Yeah.
Fighting
It's a
for
good
freedom.
thing it's a good thing that so far John Cena seems to be a legit good person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah.
Easy. If you say it out loud.
I know. But the show looks ridiculous. It looks just like it looks classic James Gunn, which I'm super pumped for.
Which means, as ridiculous and funny as this all looks, that means it's going to gut punch us in ways that we are not going to see coming.
You are not prepared.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for around episode 6 when Vigilante has the most heartfelt and painful death ever,
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. After watching the Suicide Squad, I don't know what to expect other than to not expect anything. It's just gonna be weird.
Yeah. So I'm super pumped for that, and that's early next year, right?
Yes, I think they said it's January. on
Although
HBO Max.
speaking of James Gunn, are we getting the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special this year?
Mm,
We might be.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Oh yeah, no, he's filmed a holiday special for the which is supposed to lead in right into Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Because he made this big
Cool.
thing, he was going to debut one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe in the Christmas special. And everyone was like, "Oh, is it Silver Surfer? Is it blah blah blah?" And a few fans that know Marvel, including myself, are like, "No, you idiots! It's Santa Claus. Santa Claus is a character in the Marvel Universe, and he is indestructible because he's Santa Claus.
Mhm.
But he's a superhero in the MCU who can't be killed because it's Santa Claus. It's a Christmas special. Like, come on, guys, you know who it's going to be. Quit trying to like put your nerddom in it. Like James Gunn's putting Santa Claus in the show because of course he is.
Okay.
Because he's silly.
And then before the show started, we watched the Cowboy Bebop Lost Session. So the trailer, they call it the Lost Session.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It was essentially a live action, somewhere between a cartoon and comic,
Mhm,
Yeah.
in the
mhm.
use of
Space and panels.
mhm.
Mhm.
And it starred, Jet Black and Faye Valentine and Spike Spiegel and Spike Spiegel's hair.
Always Spike Spiegel's hair.
Like, I think that's one of the most amazing things to me is how screen accurate John Cho's hair is as Spike Spiegel. It's just this thing. It's just
Has a
there.
mind of its own.
Yeah. And even
Um,
though I know that it's like effects, but that initial backflip kick where his whole body spins, I was like, that's right from the anime. Like
Mhm.
straight up right from it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're really, really like working to, like bring an animated series to life. They're not just adapting the concept or making a live action, what have you.
Mhm.
Right.
Because there was that live action Full Metal Alchemist, and that totally flopped, if I remember. And
Well,
I
that's
didn't
only
end up-
because it was bad.
Well, this doesn't seem like it's going to be bad at all. It seems like we're really, really trying to, honor the source material, essentially, right up there with, bringing in the original music producer, whose name is going to escape me now, but
Yoko Kanno.
thank you. But going back to like what you were saying, Cable, with the like the really cool way that they're using the space and the panels, it's not just that they did something that's a little bit still pretty novel, I think, in terms of, whenever you're adapting a comic book per se,
Mhm.
for example. But there was so much tempo and action involved in the use of panels throughout the whole trailer that was just like really, really impressive.
Mhm.
Yeah, essentially the characters are in different panels, but they're communicating with each other and basically like pushing each other into and out of separate spaces all on the same screen in real time. And eventually the panel dividers just not just go away, but get absorbed into the action. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking at Mustafa Shakir's IMDb page because I kept like, as soon as he came on screen and started talking, I'm like, I've heard this man's voice. It's like he's got to have done multiple voiceover work. He doesn't have any voiceover work. I've just watched things that he's in before.
Oh, okay.
He was, let's see, he was in Luke Cage. He was in American Gods.
American Gods is where I recognize him.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's Baron Samedi.
Yeah.
But he was Bushmaster in Luke Cage.
Oh, okay.
What was the character's name?
Bushmaster.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that's why. Okay,
That's why.
he has a very distinct voice.
I liked him more in American Gods, but only because I felt like Luke Cage should have ended before they got to Bushmaster.
Mhm.
I feel like once we'd ran Alfred Woodard's arc, that's where the season should have ended. But anyway, that's a whole. Because goddamn, is her fucking heel turn just fucking chef's kiss or chef's kiss for Kevin Smith fans. Yeah, so good. I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but part of me kind of hopes the show does more of that panel breaking, because the anime did that off and on, especially for like sweeps and dissolves and stuff. It like kind of broke the panels that broke the, lying in the gutters, as it were, for using a karmic parlance.
Yeah, and that's not typical of like a lot of animated series to have things broken up into panels where you have different screens going on. But it was a conceit of Cowboy Bebop for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I couldn't think of any other anime examples, but it's something that you would get a little bit of, or the similar concepts from like some of the earlier Netflix DC stuff. And
So yeah, I am not a huge fan of the animated series, but I am still, like, I watched it. It's fine, and I totally get why it is so beloved. It just has never hooked me the same way, probably because I watched it later than other people did. But I'm still excited to see this live action version of it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think I liked the anime more than you did. Like, I probably discovered it in my late 20s, and that space aesthetic, bounty hunter slash, it's the future. There's high tech, but also like people still order shitty noodles from somebody at a card pod, and then they hyperspace jump. Like, that aesthetic really clicked with me. So
yeah, and I didn't watch it until my late 30s, and so it was more of an analysis of like, oh, okay, I see exactly where 16 other things that I watched have borrowed heavily from this show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that's fair. I think that just based off of the the trailers and teasers that they've put out so far, I think that you can not be familiar with the source material and still really enjoy this. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I would ask that fans of the show just watch the show before you lambast it or decide to downvote it or whatever it is people do on the internet these days. Just watch it first
for what it is. Don't
and don't be so angry that Faye is not in a screen accurate costume, or if I hear "Where is Ed" one more time, it's like, just
you don't know yet.
Let the show air and answer those questions. It's like it's
or like
good.
Or like you said before the show, that John Cho looks older to play Spike, because in the show, in the anime, like, Spike looks to be in his mid-20s, late 20s. I mean, okay, but those are some hard years that he's put on. He's a hard smoking, drinking bounty hunter in space, which means that John Cho, who I believe is in his mid to late 40s, actually looks pretty much age appropriate for Spike.
John Cho does look like he's in his early 40s, which means he's in his 50s. I think John Cho is older than I am.
I shall look.
But
either way, I think he looks better. I think he fits.
I agree.
He is 49.
Yeah, he's younger than you.
Oh, 72.
Yep. Yeah. June 16, 1972.
They might actually be making him look a little bit rougher around the edges.
They actually are. I think I'm looking at more
usual.
pictures of him. They're roughing him up a little bit for the show. Yeah.
Like he was playing much younger for Star Trek.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, he's playing. It's like he's like late 20s, early 30s. I'm like, John Cho's in his 40s.
Although what's funny though, by the time you get to Beyond, I think they actually use less makeup on him to look like a late 30s family man with like a husband and a daughter. And if you see him in the 2009 and then Beyond, yeah, he's more mature looking for sure.
I've been a fan of John Cho for a long time.
Oh my god, me too. He's great.
And not from Harold and Kumar. Well, I love Harold and Kumar.
They are fun.
A Better Tomorrow was, I think, the first thing I saw him in.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't think I ever saw that.
It's you should.
The earliest thing I can really remember appreciating or like recognizing him from was Selfie, which of course everyone knows my love for that series. But I can't remember the first thing I ever saw him in. It was also not Harold and Kumar.
Yeah, Better Tomorrow was definitely more of it.
Are you saying Better Tomorrow or Better Luck Tomorrow?
Better Luck Tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, Better Tomorrow was like 1986. He was not acting.
No, he's only been acting since 97.
Yeah, Better Luck Tomorrow.
That's a fun one for sure.
I'll have to check it out.
I wonder what you would have seen him in.
I mean, the Harold and Kumar movies were that was his big breakout.
I didn't watch a single Harold and Kumar until relatively recently. It was on all the time on like Comedy Central or whatever, but I didn't actually watch them.
Yeah, because he just had bit parts for years and then did Harold and Kumar, and it's like
that was his big one was Harold and Kumar. Also, if you can find it online, I don't know where it's streaming, but he is in the TV version of The Exorcist, and he is fantastic in it. Also, horribly underrated show that got canceled way too early. Anyway, well, before we wrap it up, should we spend about 15 minutes on a couple of series finales, animated series finales?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Yes. Which one do you guys want to do first?
Let's jump into What If, because I feel like that has less we will nerd out about. That's just my gut. What if a fight broke out in the multiverse?
So I thought it was a pretty interesting turn of events. Like they have the series going through it as though it really is just like, oh, the Watcher is showing us, these other stories, alternate versions of things we know. There's that one, I think in the Stephen Strange episode, they interact and the Watcher will not help. Is that correct? Am I remembering that correctly? But then besides that, that's kind of it. It's just the Watcher is watching la-di-da until the second to last episode. And then things just get a little crazy.
Yeah, where the Ultron version flat out finds the Watcher and starts fighting him. Yeah.
And it's funny, I had another friend, their partner was watching it. It's like, why is the Watcher getting involved now? Why? It's like, they could have helped all this time. It's like, yeah, but those threats were all to singular universes. They were that was all how those universes were supposed to end up.
Right.
This was a threat to every universe, every single one of them. And then he pointed out, it's like, also the Watcher is like, I watch, I cannot get involved. Got involved like every eighth issue of the comic.
Right.
Like, okay, I have an oath. Well, except for this one thing, I'm going to do this, but I have an oath. I pulled my. I should probably help with this.
I'm just nerdly happy that during the fight between the Watcher and Ultron, there was a lot of Kirby dots being thrown around.
Oh,
yes, that was a really, really cool.
Kirby dots everywhere.
I thought it was.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought it was a great way to really show what level of power the Watcher is at within the hierarchy of the universe. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's a Marvel Celestial, basically.
Mhm.
No, you cannot fuck with Oatu.
Nope. You can try. It's not
Try.
going to work.
All I was going to say is that I don't think that I've ever seen the Kirby Crackle in action, like in a physical, like live action or like moving, you know.
They've never used
You
them
know
in
what
the
I mean?
movies. They've never used them in the MCU yet, so it was cool to see the Kirby
Or in any other
the Kirby
animation.
dots. Yeah,
Right.
The dots, sorry.
you're right. Yeah,
Yeah, so that was really cool to see, just like I guess see it in real time, for lack of a better way of putting it.
I like
I love how much like power and fun we attribute to an artist's style.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby dots. When you see Kirby dots, you know shit's going down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool. What a cool legacy.
It just got real.
It just got real. Kirby dots.
I like that entire team became the guardians of the multiverse.
I'd watch that movie.
I now have those as minifigs.
Right.
Lego minifigs?
Mm-hmm. Because that's what was in the most recent blind bag was Captain Carter, T'Challa, Star-Lord, and Gamora, champion of Sakaar.
Right.
I've forgotten all about those. Those were coming out before the show had even started airing, right?
Yep. It came out in that between time from the end of Loki to the beginning of What If. That's when they came out.
I love that Party Thor has a catchphrase of battle cry of Viva Las Vegas. Which, by the way, we'll finish this up, but Party Thor might be my favorite What If episode. It was just nice to have a lighthearted, ridiculous episode where Captain Marvel beats his ass and he's mainly annoyed that she's a party pooper.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, you can't have fun.
It was just a fun episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the ending of it is the darkest thing because look, this is one of the first universes that Ultron attacks.
Yeah.
And that was the glimpse of
like
what the next episode was going to be.
Jane Foster getting drunk, getting married, and getting a hammer tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
No, she didn't get married. Darcy got married.
I thought she married Thor.
Well, if it isn't Mrs. the Duck.
No,
it misses the duck.
They definitely had sex, but they didn't get married. Darcy and Howard got married.
But she still got a hammer tattoo.
She still got a hammer tattoo.
Yeah, they got like partnered tattoos because
Yeah,
I think
Darcy
Thor
and-
got
Darcy
like
and
a
Seth
beaker or
Green.
something.
Mhm.
It isn't Mrs. the Duck.
That's so funny. Yes, that episode is a lot of fun, but I think the Stephen Strange one is my favorite out of all of them. And just that iteration of a Stephen Strange, especially how it ties into this finale.
It's rough.
He's like the fucking linchpin for that team. And
I did love that tie-in. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like nothing but eldritch horror, and I love it.
The entire time. Yep.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then if I had to pick my favorite, I think of them, my favorite is probably the T'Challa as Star-Lord. Because of his relationship with Thanos and the idea of, oh no, he just talked Thanos out of destroying half of the universe.
But it's still objectively a good idea.
Objectively. And
it's just like how we will never let it go.
Yep. And then the reimagining of Nebula as this blonde bombshell who's also a confidence grifter. It's like on par with T'Challa. It's like that was glorious. I loved that whole switch. I think it's because we got to see more of a change, not just in one character but in several, where a lot of the characters were still the same people, just in a different circumstance.
Yes, and that, I guess that's like the key takeaway about that episode in particular is if your circumstances had been different, how would you be different as a person? Versus, like the Captain America versus Captain Carter is like, oh, circumstances were different. So now you're the superhero instead of you. And technically speaking, Steve Rogers still did get an opportunity to play a bit of a super powered hero role. So I felt like that one was kind of a throwaway. And like, you couldn't have just let Peggy Carter have her moment in the sun. You still had to like make Steve Rogers special. Anyway,
Steve Rogers was only, Steve Rogers is special. And the thing that made him special in that episode was the fact that that was who Peggy loved.
Right.
Fine.
I like that it was very much, it's like, no, he's special because she deems him so. It's like, that's very sweet.
Okay, I'll give it to you. But my point being that like the T'Challa episode really is like, Peter Quill, he's not a bad guy, but he is out there like where a regular human cannot go, and he's not really making the universe a better place. But someone like T'Challa takes his place, and how many atrocities get prevented? How different are people out there in the galaxy, like having like richer, more fulfilled, happy lives a lot of the times with each other just because of his influence. And so I thought that was particularly touching.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he was trying to bring Wakanda's standard of living to the universe.
Also, just
a
moment for the fact that like Chadwick Boseman recorded every single T'Challa line in What If. Like he made it a point of seeing that fucking character through to the end, man.
And he did.
He did.
Well, I think that was like the second to last thing he did.
I think so, yeah.
With Ma Rainey.
Too bad what's happening with Black Panther 2.
What's happening with Black Panther 2?
The woman who plays his sister, she is a hardcore anti-vaxxer and has been very public about it. And Disney is trying very hard to like bury her posts. And so they're like, for the love of God, please quit talking. Like, you're probably going to be the main character in this movie. Please stop. Like, even like Ryan Coogler is like, please stop. Please quit talking. Please. Oh my God, what have you done? Yeah. So that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, she's big anti-vaxxer, big anti-mask.
It's fine.
Yeah. I think their big problem is like your character is supposed to be like the most intelligent and scientific mind of the MCU, and you're spewing, please stop talking. Please. Please.
I would like to point out that it's distressing to hear that about anybody. But as a reminder, this is Hollywood. It is still a business. And I can't remember. Why can't I remember his name?
I mean, they fired Gina Carano.
That's not where I was going. I was going with James Rhodes was not the original James Rhodes.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true.
That's true. It's been a long time since they've done it, but you can get replaced.
They did that from the get-go. That was the first one.
I think we all like Don Cheadle more as Rhodey. Actually, people forget that what's his name? Terrence Howard was the most highest paid actor in the first Iron Man movie. He got more than RDJ, who got scale.
Did not know that.
Yeah, the studios were like talking to Jon Favreau, and they're like, "Are you out of fucking your mind wanting Robert Downey Jr.? He's a drug addict. He's a pain in the ass." And RDJ was like, "I'm clean. I want this. I'll do it for scale." And Favreau was like, "He'll do it for scale, and I will." I believe Favreau actually personally insured him for the movie.
Oh, right. And Edward Norton.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Who's a Never mind.
Right.
Which
No
He-
one-
I
no-
mean, he did that only to himself, I guess.
No one likes
from what
working
I'm
with
led
Edward
to
Norton.
understand.
Yeah, and he's
right.
really
That's
hard.
different. But the point is, you can talk yourself out of a job with Marvel. It is still possible.
Mhm.
Or Marvel
Well,
/ Disney.
Well, let's move on from Marvel and Disney to the final frontier.
Huzzah!
The season finale of Lower Decks,
Ooh,
aka one of the best Trek shows ever made. I'm just gonna
That-
say it now.
there is so much that happens in this episode.
By the way, I'll just say season 2 was flawless. They nailed season 2 of Lower Decks.
Yeah, there wasn't a sleeper in the
There was
season.
not a sleeper in it. It was just the whole way through. It was great writing the whole way through.
I sat on pins and needles that entire last episode. I was so stressed.
I thought someone was going to die.
I thought so many were going to die, and it wasn't just because of how they ended the first season last year. It was, I've never seen a Starfleet crew pull off a more harebrained stunt
Yeah,
than what the Cerritos crew did. They took the hull off.
the stakes felt so real.
Yeah,
Yes.
So real.
yeah. Because
Also, no, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Because
please.
It's the ship looks cool as fuck without the outer hull. That's all.
It
Oh,
does. I mean, they made everything feel so very real, knowing that they were an escort ship to what looked like the next iteration of the Excelsior class.
They said
So,
that
like,
actually it was
yeah.
based on the Excelsior, but it's its own class. And they said like Excelsior class is still out there. This is the evolution of the class.
Did you read who
Yeah.
the captain of that ship was?
Oh yeah, I did. That made me so happy. By the way,
So-
first official Latinx captain apart from the Columbia,
and
that woman's hella white looking.
Yep.
Yeah, it's why am I going blank on her name? The woman who spilled hot chocolate on Picard.
Yep.
Who was meant to be a main character, and then they wrote her out.
Yep.
They didn't know what to do with her in TNG. Yeah.
It wasn't the only time that she showed up, but they referenced both of her appearances.
Yeah, she showed up twice.
Mhm.
Yeah. Why am I going blank? Gomez, Sonia
Mhm.
Gomez. Yeah, Captain Sonia Gomez. Yeah.
Captain Sonia Gomez. The scuttlebutt is that based on knowing who she is and knowing that she and Freeman served together, it's like, oh wait, does that mean Carol Freeman was on the Enterprise?
Which one's Carol Freeman?
Captain Carol Freeman of the Cerritos.
Oh. But Captain
Because-
Freeman looks a little bit older than Gomez.
But Gomez and Freeman served together. That's why they know each other.
That's true because Lower Decks is what, 25 years after the launch of TNG.
Mm-hmm.
So season 1 TNG. So that tracks. Senior Ensign Gomez, she was in Q Who, which was season 3 of TNG, early
Yep.
season 3. So let's say she's an ensign, so she's 22.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, she's pushing 50. All right, that tracks.
And it, like, that's the fan theory.
Captain
right
Freeman
now, is
has
that
more gray hair because she has a daughter. That is
She has. It's not that just she has a daughter. Mariner Beckett is
Mariner
her.
Beckett
is her
Beckett
daughter.
Mariner is her daughter. Yeah.
Captain Sonia Gomez probably doesn't have any kids. She only has to worry about her ship.
Mhm. But that's like, that also lends itself to why Captain Freeman and Mariner are more familiar with Riker.
Mm.
And
That's
why
true.
she's all like, as soon as she becomes a captain, she's like, oh, now I don't like Riker as much.
Which is why Freeman is more annoyed that her daughter is even closer friends with Riker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole episode itself was just glorious. It gave us so much character depth.
And as Norm put it out, it finally gave us a physical acknowledgement of cetacean ops.
Mhm.
Oh my God, those dolphins.
Everybody,
They have been canon since like 1990, by the way.
But we've never seen them before, right?
Never seen them before, but
Ever.
every major Starfleet ship has a cetacean ops ever since the voyage home.
fascinating.
That is when they
I've never
introduced-
actually been clear on why that is.
So after they brought George and Gracie back, Starfleet realized that Earth has more sentient life than humans. So after Star Trek IV, they actually make a concerted effort to speak with ocean mammals. And dolphins are like, yeah, we've been trying to like adequately contact you for like centuries. Thanks for finally catching up with us, by the way. We would also like to go to space and explore. Also, we're way better at navigating three-dimensional space than you monkeys are. So let us help you with navigation. Yeah, that's it. That's cetacean ops is that creatures who live in water are better at three-dimensional exploration than creatures who live on land.
Mm-hmm.
They're born naval officers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And apparently are just thirsty as hell.
That was hilarious.
You look pretty sweaty. Why don't you jump in the pool with us? Take your shirt off.
He heard you the first time, Matt.
It was so cool.
Yeah, I love the fact that we see all four of our lower deck characters leap forward in their own evolution. Like Boimler saves the day.
Cool.
Beckett doesn't save the day. She's the one that has to get over her own issues to move forward. Tendi is the person that actually calls her out, largely because Boimler and Rutherford are still scared of her. But Tendi's like, shut up, go to the bridge, talk to your mom. We've got this. We know what we're doing. And she's like, you're right, you do. I'm going to go away now.
That's a little bit of Tendi kind of pushing her Orion Syndicate background. Like, go do your fucking job.
Yeah. Her getting promoted to Science Command Division. It's like,
Very cool.
Okay.
Makes way more sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like, you don't belong in sickbay. You're too good at everything. Go.
Also, something I looked back the past few episodes, and then I really kind of felt it in this finale. They have been slowly building a weird tension / connection between Beckett and Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
Because the previous episode where they do the naked time, when everyone's being like naked and making out, the only one she stops at is when Jennifer, she's like, oh, let me watch this. I gotta go. And
don't remember that.
Yeah, and even this last episode, there's a comment about her like, you move your like big hot ass out of the way. I'm like, oh, you might be trying to get Mariner and Jennifer together.
Yeah.
These two characters who like annoy the fuck out of each other of like, it's also because we maybe kind of have the hots for each other. And this is how we deal with emotions.
Well, and they've since started to try to get along.
Yeah.
I still want to know why she's named Jennifer. Why is an Andorian named Jennifer? It bothers me. It keeps me up at night. I know it's funny, but they don't just do things because it's funny.
What if her last name ends up being Shran?
That would make sense.
Jennifer Shran.
All I can think of is like, I get looped into my head of like, okay, so at some point, her parents served with humans. A human named Jennifer saved someone's life.
So they're honor bound.
So they are honor bound. They named their first child Jennifer. You know, like it's Jennifer Endelev. Like how else do Andorians end up with human names?
Yeah, so good. Oh, speaking of Shran, Jeffrey Crooms, a few episodes before, finally made his voice appearance as a killer computer.
That was fantastic.
It's great.
Oh, that was a fun one.
But yeah, I don't know where they're going. Like I don't believe that the captain is going to be in prison for very long.
No, but they are really. I don't feel like they're just stretching it out for a joke. I think they are legitimately making a real threat out of the Packlids, and
Except they're dead. They blew up the Packlid. I actually like that in a weird way, because one of my big issues with the season 1 ending of Discovery
Mhm.
is that Kronos has a giant fucking bomb in it still.
Mhm.
I believe it's the same type of bomb that the Packlids blew their planet up with.
Mhm.
But don't forget that we know of at least one Klingon who knows that
Yep.
they were the ones involved with why the Packlids had
Mhm.
bombs in their possession or vicinity.
Exactly.
Yeah, the lower decks of other species episode definitely laid groundwork for what I think season 3 is going to be.
Yeah.
And then there was one other character that Cable you were projecting we're going to see more of. It was the Klingon who
Oh,
just
yeah.
became captain of his ship.
But it's the Vulcan science officer.
The Vulcan. Thank you.
I think she's going to show up on the Cerritos next season.
Yeah, Delenn.
Yeah.
I think that's her name.
That sounds right. That was weird though, right? Like, just because Vulcans have Starfleet connections, it doesn't mean that like you can go from being assigned to a Vulcan ship, be part of their fleet, and then just get transferred over to a Starfleet ship, right? They just like that, like it's the same organization.
I always read
No.
it as if you're a founding member of the Federation, you've got a few extra perks that other races don't. So I feel like if you're on a Vulcan science vessel and you can do a cultural exchange to Starfleet, same with Tellarites, same with Andorians. I feel like they're like, I feel like it's a weird, archaic loophole within the Constitution of the Federation that the founding members can play loosey-goosey with their individual, quote, military forces.
Without sending someone to Starfleet Academy?
I think because the idea being that, like, if you've gone through the Vulcan Science Academy, apart from knowing traditions, you're not a detriment to any other ship. You fucking know how a warp core, you know how shit works. I mean, it would be like, I mean, I know you might bristle at this beam, but it might be like sending a naval officer into the army. Like, the traditions might be different, but they'll know how chain of command works. They'll know the most basic things because military riggers, regardless of the branch, have like a core foundation of how shit works.
I will agree or disagree with you in a moment, but Cable has something.
Okay.
The analogy is somewhat flawed. It's more, it is more an American naval service member being posted to a British naval ship or an Israeli naval ship.
Yeah.
And as SAC is kind of backing that up, Star Trek The Next Generation, I believe either season 1 or season 2, has already established that there is a cultural exchange program amongst fleets that are season 2 that are within the Federation and are Federation allies, because that's why Riker became a captain.
The episode A Matter of Honor.
Yep, where he becomes a captain of a Klingon ship very briefly after beating up the current captain of the Klingon ship.
He was acting without honor.
Yeah,
I didn't see that, but you guys have talked about it before. Okay, so it is a cultural exchange.
It's a cultural exchange.
It's not just like, guess what, you're in Starfleet now because you've pissed me off here on Vulcan.
I don't think it was.
That's all I needed.
Yeah, it's like that's the same thing that's why T'Pol served on the Enterprise, because they needed a Vulcan observer, and the same with Phlox served as the medical officer. It was a cultural exchange program.
And I could
neither one of those two were Starfleet.
Right. And I could actually see Tendi in season 3 being an odd foil to that Vulcan science officer, especially if the Vulcan science officer is brought in as a higher rank than Tendi. Because to a Vulcan, here's an Orion who is working within the rules of Starfleet and is science driven, not profit driven. And that Vulcan, the entire time, every time Tendi does something, that Vulcan's gonna be like, okay, is this her being scientific or is this her being Orion?
Mhm.
Which means that Vulcan officer has to deal with her own prejudices about how the whole galaxy looks at Orions.
Mhm.
And people
And-
might see this as strangely familiar, but the whole galaxy looks at Orions as thieves, rapists, drug dealers, and killers. And it's hard
Criminals,
for an Orion
generally.
to prove themselves as, yeah. With
Very well.
sexy green skin.
Mhm.
And Tendi has that undercut, which it is weird to be weirdly attractive to a cartoon character, but I would just be fine with it.
Oh, like it's your first time.
It's not, but
It's not even his 5th time.
no, but it's
No.
that undercut. Like she's number one with a bullet now.
Okay.
And
Moving
on
on.
that note,
Yes.
We can place to wrap up the show with Aaron's weird things.
Yep.
Mhm. Fetishes. They're called fetishes, Aaron.
That's fine. Next week,
We're not here.
we're not. Wait,
There is no live show next week.
right.
It feels weird because like we keep saying, oh, but it's the last week of October, but it's not because it's not Halloween. It's because Halloween is on a Sunday.
That's
Mhm,
right. That's
mhm.
why I'm like, are you guys sure? Even though I
Yeah.
know we talked about it.
Yeah, it
Mhm,
is.
So yeah.
mhm.
So there is no live show next week, but we are going to upload a show on
Mhm.
Tuesday because this coming Sunday, Denise, Cable, and myself are going to be recording a commentary of Bram Stoker's Dracula. We went through Budapest. There will be wine. I want to bring absinthe, but I don't know if anybody else likes absinthe.
I mean, it just depends on how it's been prepared.
Wanky as hell.
I won't say no.
How about just wine?
Definitely wine. Oh, I'm bringing a whole box.
Being keeping it classy for the show.
There's nothing wrong with box wine.
There is nothing wrong with box wine.
There is nothing wrong with box wine.
I didn't say Franzia. It's real wine. It just comes in a box.
So yeah, next week you guys will get to listen to our commentary of Bram Stoker's Dracula. That is our Halloween gift to you.
You're all welcome.
You're all welcome.
And then we'll see you all again live in the first week of November.
Yep.
Yay.
And with that, I'm Aaron Duran.
I'm Bean Rita.
And I'm Cable Hashitani.
We will not see you all next week, but you will hear us next week.
Continue to watch out for snakes, though.
Woo. Yeah, always do that. Bye.